Dan, we interrupt this podcast for a PSA, a public service announcement.
Oh my. Yes, I think I know where you're going with this. We got to get the word out.
Yeah, we got an email, and we'll read you this email here, because it's just, why can't anything in life be easy? Am I asking for too much?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that really make you wonder how and why stuff like this has to happen.
Yeah. We're talking about fraud, and we had a victim of a fraud send us an email giving us a heads up. And it just burns me because, well, they used our picture, they used our thumbnail for a online ad, which we obviously had nothing to do with it, and we didn't even live where they claimed that they did. But this stuff's been going on for a while now, but I just don't think it's going to go away.
No, and they use our name too, and that's the other thing. And now we're approaching that season, that time of the year where people are looking to buy firewood. And so, I think there's going to be more and more of this happening if people don't take some precautions.
Yeah, this is the time of year where all of our interests should be on running our machines and splitting wood and stacking wood and avoiding hornets, which I'm speaking from experience here. I look like a pincushion. I got swarmed the other day. That was no fun.
Ooh.
And, this is the time of year I can feel fall in the air, even though it's still warm outside. The days are getting a little shorter.
Yep.
The machines are running just a little bit harder. And I don't know. I just wish that we could just focus on that. But here we are.
And people out there are looking to buy their firewood to get ready for this winter.
Yeah. You should be focusing on your Easton-made 37 Delta.
Yeah. I've got areas of focus I need that need attention.
What is the status of your 37D?
So the restricting the flow of the conveyor will take a little more work and be a little more involved than what I originally thought. It would involve running a line back to the tank to the fluid that's restricted. It would need to go somewhere, otherwise it has it dampens down the horsepower of the overall pump, the motor, everything.
Is that called a K strain? I heard Bob Nelson refer to that before, like this extra line that takes excess fluids so it doesn't burn up a motor and it sends it back to the tank.
Yep. Yeah. Something like that. I'm not up to speed with all the technical terms and all that workings, and it's just from my understanding, I would need to have a different valve and a valve that would allow a line to be run back to the tank so that the pump can continuously put out as many gallons per minute as it does, and that wouldn't be restricted. It would just be that you could then turn down the conveyor and any excess would go back to the tank, and that would, the system would run as it should.
So you have an Easton-made 37D, which is a serious machine, and it is a big, powerful, fast splitter with a box wedge and a built-in conveyor. And since day one, you feel that the conveyor is just spinning too fast, and you would like the ability to slow it down.
Correct.
And you felt that all you needed to do was to put a dial in line so you could restrict the flow going to the conveyor.
Yes.
Which you did. But the repair shop that did that initial repair did it wrong, and it had a leak.
Yep.
And it never did work right.
No. It's been a disaster from day one.
And then you got the leak to quit, leaking, but you just can't now dial the machine in, because anytime you mess around with restricting the hydraulic flow to the conveyor to slow it down, it messes with the rest of the machine upstream.
Yes. Yep. It makes it not perform like it should, and it just isn't. It doesn't make any sense to take power away from your splitter to just slow down your conveyor. And I know that the conveyor speed isn't something that it's a huge issue. I've just always, whenever I see firewood conveyors running, I always see them running slow. And everyone I talked to said, if you don't need to run it that fast, you shouldn't, because at some point, you're just putting excess wear and tear on parts,
Yeah.
moving parts, which is never good, in my opinion, anyway.
I do not have a lot of experience with conveyors, but my Easton made Axis has a built-in conveyor, and I know that the faster it runs, you can feel it. Now, I'm right on the action with that machine, but I can feel it lessening the splitting power. So if you have the conveyor turned off, it seems like the splitter, the ram, runs faster with more power.
Yeah, and that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The deal with my Axis, and I think it's probably the same experience that you're dealing with yours, is the Easton Maids have a chain for the conveyor and not a rubber belt. And I think mine would run perfectly fine fast, but it just feels wrong.
Yeah.
It's just loud and clanking, and it just feels like it's just going to fly off into a million pieces. And it's just unpleasant. I like that conveyor to run real slow. My other conveyor on my Yappa is a rubber belt one, and I like it to run fast, man. You could shoot that log across the yard with it.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing, is like it's a completely different setup from the Yappa, and it's just something that I just feel is running way too fast.
yeah. Yeah. So, and now you're having consultation and full support with Easton made log
Yes.
splitters then.
Yep. I talked to Andrew. I talked to Jeremy up there. I talked to a couple of them, and so what happened was, just a quick backstory. When this is their prototype machine that they built first, with this attached conveyor and the 37D, that model, everything. So when they were testing this, they had just the 6-way wedge on it, and they were running rounds through it, and it was not able to keep up taking the rounds away on the conveyor fast enough. So they put a faster motor on the conveyor itself. So now, after trying to restrict the flow, with that not working, they suggested, just why don't we send you a motor that's not as fast running to put on, and then that will slow down the speed of the chain, and should be good. So that's what I
it's
have.
going to be slower, but you still won't be able to control the speed.
Right. But I think having it slower, because Andrew said it will probably slow down by about 30 to 40% from what it is now. And that would be probably right around the ideal speed to run with, like, the box wedge. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right.
I just have to get it installed. I don't know. I'm not sure if I can do that.
Yeah. Well, I would also think too, the fact that you are a hobbyist, you're only a hobbyist.
Yes.
That you're just not under extreme production pressure.
No.
So you can, like, slow it down on your end. If the conveyor can't keep up, you can just quit working that lever until it does.
That's
You're
right.
just a hobbyist.
That's the beauty of it, is I can slow down my production, but I still would like the conveyor to match, my speed.
Yeah. I hope that the listeners have picked up on some recurring themes that we have with our podcast. If we try to begin every episode with me saying your first name, and then we try to work in the word hobbyist.
Somehow.
Yeah, it's just an inside joke that we have and a routine standard that continues on each episode.
That's right.
Yeah, but we love our hobbyists, Dan, and you are at the top of my list.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think it's a nice hobby to have. It's a hobby that pays you back.
Yeah, it is. I guess cars, trucks, motors, that used to be my hobby. I was once a pretty involved motorhead, and I still retain my skills, but a lot of it just doesn't bring me joy anymore like it used to. And I've done everything I can to get away from working on my cars. I started taking my cars and trucks to have the oil changed, and uh, they can't do it right. I shopped around to get brakes put on my trucks, and the prices that they're charging are just outrageous. And it's just too easy to do a brake job on a modern truck. So I'm back to working on my trucks, and then I have my delivery truck has not been running well
Uh-oh.
lately, and I've done my own repairs. I lived through my spark plug experience.
Yep.
The other thing is that the Fords, their throttle bodies will get varnished up, so you take them off and clean them out. Made a huge improvement, but it's still not running right. It just kind of bucks when you're under light acceleration. Nothing to where it's throwing the check engine light on, or as the mechanics would call it, the money light. And I was going to take it to Ford and have them, scan it, but that costs like $150 for them to plug their computer into it. And someone says, "Well, why don't you just ride it out until it does throw the engine light on, and then take it to like AutoZone or O'Reilly's, and they'll check it for free, and they'll tell you what's wrong with it." So
Mm.
that's what I've been doing, but it's just I can't relax now driving my truck. I feel like it's going to break down out on the highway. So now spending a couple extra bucks at the Ford dealer for them to tell me what's wrong with it didn't seem like that's much money. I did an
Yeah.
episode on this. What is the price of peace, right?
Right.
So I take it to the Ford garage. They charge me $150 to tell me that the coils with a S are going bad. The old days there was one coil. It cost like $19.99, and it was for the entire engine, all 8 cylinders. Well, my truck has 8 coils, one for each spark plug. But fortunately, they only cost $110 each.
Oh,
So
nice.
so with tax and installation, they quoted me like $1,200 to put new coils on my truck. And I told them,
Oh, yikes.
I says, "Nah," I says, I'll risk breaking down. I'll just here's my $100. I'm leaving. So that is now my new dilemma, because I was told you do not put anything other than Motorcraft coils on your Ford. All the other ones that you can buy that are cheaper, like $30 each, they're all junk.
Ooh.
But now it's starting to feel like it might be worth rolling the dice, because gosh, $1,200 for coils on my truck. But man, it's nice when it runs. I'll say that.
And is that something you can't do yourself? You'd have to have it done.
Yes, it is a cakewalk repair. In fact, you take the coils off to replace the spark plug, so they've already been out once. So
Oh.
I just got to take them out. It's just like a little 8 millimeter bolt. And they zip right out. They pull right out. I had trouble with my little bolts. They were all rusted up, and I couldn't get a socket on them, and that was a lot of extra work. But I had purchased the new bolts to put them back in. And I remember I was at the Ford parts counter, and I says, "How much do bolts cost for that?" And he says, "A pack of 4." He's like talking to himself. They're $275. And I was like, "Okay, get me all 8 then." So he rings me up. It was like $40. And they were like $275 each.
A bolt.
It's this little, yeah, it's like this little micro, it's like something that you would keep your, like the door on the back of your remote controller to keep the batteries in. It has like a little screw in it to hold it in. It's like that. Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's been my dilemma. Don't think that you're alone, Dan, with your conveyor woes. We are
Yeah.
all dealing with conveyance issues.
Well, and you not being a hobbyist, you need your truck to deliver. You need to get out there and have it running when you need it, and you can't
Yeah.
just you can't. I don't know. That's a big part of the
Yeah.
operation.
I think it's bad PR to have your truck sitting on the side of the road with the hood up in the air too. Yeah, it looks bad.
Yep. Yeah, not
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's been what I've been dealing with on top of making firewood. Um, and that's when we got that email from this lady, and oh gosh, I just don't want to have to deal with this right now. But I just feel like this would be a good discussion to throw out there for our listeners, because we can all play a role in snuffing this stuff out.
Right. Yep.
There's a lot of Facebook user groups out there, and our good friend Bob Nelson is a moderator for one, or a gatekeeper, and he is just constantly denying membership from these scammers, and that's what they are. They're just crooks.
Yep. Total scam. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And
Dan, why don't you you have the email? Why don't you bring us up to speed on the issue
yeah,
here?
let me read this email here, and then we can discuss.
Yes.
So we received the email, like we had mentioned, and it was from it states it right here. Actually, all right. Hello, my name is Christy, and I live about an hour and a half north of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. On Friday, August 25th, my husband purchased a bush cord of wood to heat our home this winter. The seller asked to be paid upfront, and he would deliver it by 3 p.m. that day. Unfortunately, my naive husband paid in full $400 via EMT. The seller was replying to my husband all day, promising the wood delivery, and then coming up with excuse after excuse as we passed by 3 p.m. My husband then leaves to take our middle son to a birthday party while I stay home and wait for the delivery. As the seller promises that he's on his way, 8 p.m. rolls around and the seller is no longer replying to my husband. He appears to have ghosted him. I find the ad and reach out to the seller, then being told I need to be patient. Saturday morning rolls around and we check to see for our reply. The seller has deleted all of his ads and both of our conversations. Thankfully, I had screenshotted my conversation with him, but the conversation with my husband is gone. Thinking he may have blocked us, I had my sister search, and she came up with nothing. We frantically call our bank. The bank deactivated our bank card, and we needed to go to the nearest bank to get a replacement. Unfortunately, there isn't much that the bank can do. We have filed a claim with them, but we will likely never see our money again. My husband works very hard for his money. He is a good man, an excellent father, and he is just devastated with this. The reason for my email is the scam artist was using your pictures on his display picture and going by the Hounds. A quick Google search led us to your podcast. I understand that you're located in Ohio, and we rescued a dog from Youngstown, Ohio. Interesting side note. Anyway, I am reaching out to you to be aware of this and have attached screenshots of our conversation and the images he was using of you. Have a wonderful day and take care. Sincerely. Yeah. So there it is.
Yeah, that just boils my blood, Dan.
Yes.
Yeah, the other theme too, and this is beyond fraud. Anyone out there that's in business, you're delivering firewood or you're roofing a house, when you tell the customer that you will be there at 3 p.m., you will be there at 3 p.m. There's no excuse. And
Right.
if you can't be there, you text, you call. Everyone's got a cell phone. No excuse. But in this case here, we're dealing with a crook.
Yep. Never intended to be there.
Yeah. And we've had a number of times your social media presence has been used more than mine. But there are routine crooks out there that will just take a picture of you or you standing by a machine or your firewood, and they'll call it, Frank's Firewood. and they're selling wood, and they're trying to give the appearance that they're a legitimate business,
Yep.
and they're not. So they're taking payment up front, and they probably don't even live in the city. They're just putting up ads in all cities all over the country, trying to get hits.
Correct. And they use
Yeah,
profiles. Their profile names would be something like firewood for sale near you, or something about firewood for sale. And then the minute that they have someone that they receive either a down payment from or payment in full, they close down that profile and they go on to make a new one and join. It's just a repetitive process. That's all they're doing is
right.
looking to scam people out of money, and then they're gone.
Yeah. I have gotten emails over the years from subscribers who stumbled upon an ad, like they would live in Louisville or Little Rock, Arkansas, and they would say, "Hey, there is a picture of you here, and you're selling firewood in Little Rock. Just wanted to give you a heads up." It would be an Instagram account. It would be on Facebook, but it's just a scam, and they just choose firewood. It's probably seasonal because now that everyone's starting to get into the firewood mood and they're looking for a good deal, and these
Yep.
prices are probably agreeable, and they're the other thing is too, they're actually going to deliver it, and they're going to show right up, and then you buy it. You buy it online with a credit card. It's simple, it's easy, and then the guy's a crook
Yeah. Yeah, and
or
and
gal.
and I think the message here is that we're not saying it's impossible to buy firewood from someone over online or connect with a firewood seller, or over the internet, but I think what you need to do is, if you see an ad on Facebook Marketplace, do some research, find out if that company has an actual website, and then work through either the website or contact them directly, phone, text message, what have you. Because if you have an actual working website, I think you are more chances are higher that you're in a business that you are going to deliver the firewood, and and the other thing would be wait until you get your wood to make the
Oh,
payment.
oh gosh, no kidding. I think that any firewood delivery service that requires payment up front is that's a clue. you know, in my old line of work, we called that a clue. And I think you that is different than if the guy or gal shows up with a truckload of wood and wants payment before they dump it,
Yes.
you know, because they're there. But if anyone's requiring payment up front, And I've been trying to find a person to put a new roof on our house. And some friends of mine, that I talked to, they were in the trades, but they just don't do roofing. They said any roofer who wants money up front to buy the supplies is a roofer that you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
What kind of a business person is that? And you hear about like people that do that need home improvement, a bathroom put in or a new kitchen, and they pay 50% down to the contractor, and then the contractor just disappears. We just had a big guy here in the Mahoning Valley that just went down for this very same thing, just multiple customers where he took down payments. He's really good at taking their money, very good at that, but not very good at showing up and actually doing the work that was paid to be done.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
it's a tough scenario to get in, because if you're told, I'm a contractor who will tell you, I'm overbooked, I'm so far out, if you put money down, I can put you on the calendar. So you're thinking that's the only way to get something done. And so you give them the money, and then they never show up and
Ugh.
do the job. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, dealing with this roof here, I've called 6 roofers, and only one of them has showed up
Wow.
to look at my roof and give an estimate. The one guy, I'm up to 3 times with him. He was giving me, "I'll be there tonight," and he never comes. So, what if
Maybe
the
they
guy is
drive
going to
by and
ask?
they
Yeah.
look at it and they say, oh, I'm not going back.
Yeah. They would. I would think that if they are going to ask me for money down, again, that's a clue. Well, if you're hard to track down when I'm trying to buy something from you, how are you going to be when I need you to do it?
Yeah.
you know? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Dan, my blood boils when I hear this stuff. I am in my mid 50s. I have evolved over time. I used to be this real uh, harsh, accountability focused person, and I've mellowed in my older years. I believe in giving people second chances, assuming that everyone's good until proven otherwise. But I'm just telling you, I cannot stand a thief. I cannot stand a liar and a thief, and they're one and the same.
Yep. I'm the same way. I've been getting, like, just like you, I've been getting messages, emails for how long with my images being used, and it really, it doesn't sit well with me knowing that my likeness was associated with, in this case, even like, a full on scam, let alone a potential scam. Just
Yeah, and they
drives
use
me
our
nuts.
thumbnail. They use our
Yeah.
thumbnail for the podcast, and it really makes no sense for a firewood delivery service.
Yeah.
I mean, two handsome guys in a picture, and I mean very handsome. How does that equate to firewood? I guess I'm holding a few sticks in my hand, but come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it is just nuts. And again, this is kind of like you mentioned, the PSA. Just hopefully at some point, these scammers, they just are no longer finding people to fall for their scam, and they will go away. But
Yeah,
it's all over the place. There's so many out
yeah.
there.
We got to do something to chase these people out of our industry, though. I think we can all play a part. For instance, the people that do, because especially the people that follow the other firewood channels on YouTube. Not all, but many of the YouTube channels have a pretty big footprint in social media, and people pretty much know who they are and where they are. And if they see an ad for firewood sales in San Diego and it's Ohio wood burner, you know, call that out and send it to whoever the YouTube channel is and let them take steps to fix it or to
Yep.
not fix it but to address it.
Yeah, and you can report those profiles to, like, Facebook, and they will. The problem is that the scammers just post it. If they get a couple calls, they end up removing it and creating a new profile. So, even if you report one profile and get it taken down, all they're going to do is create another one. So you just have to
Right.
be on the lookout.
Yeah, I had developed a relationship with our local news channel, um, and I'm going to reach out to them when we get closer to like the fall selling season. And that could be because they do those kind of news stories where there's an alert put out about a scam. And that would be something I would like to do, is to let people know, do not pay in advance for your firewood. People will pay me, but that's because we have an established relationship. Different, you
Right.
know. If you have a person that you trust, that you have a good relationship with, or you kind of know who they are, that's different. But what we're seeing here is just some random chump on an online ad soliciting sales, and I'll bring it to you today, and then they never show up.
Yeah. Well, a few years ago, I mean, you couldn't find a firewood guy that wouldn't take anything but cash. Like,
Right.
that's the other red flag. If you see firewood and the ability to pay online, you better look into it.
That's ironic because that's how I make my living. I'm all online. I don't even like people want to pay me cash. I prefer to take credit cards. So,
Oh, but
uh,
yeah, so that is a big thing to be on the lookout for. And again, if you want to report it to us, you can. If you see our picture out there, there's not a lot we can really do. So I would report it to whatever platform you see those profiles on, and just be vigilant. Look into stuff before you just start giving out your credit card numbers.
Yeah. Oh, good heavens. Do not pay in advance for your firewood. That's my message.
Yep. Unless it's from Ohio Woodburner. Then pay in advance and pay extra.
Yeah. Tip a Dr. Pepper. Yeah.
With a Dr. Pepper.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, I feel better getting that off my chest because I have learned in life also, don't check your email before you go to bed. When I used to have a real job, I learned real quick. If it was after 6 p.m., I wouldn't check my email because there'd be something that would light me up, and
Yep.
then I'm not gonna be able to sleep at night. Oh well, what the heck? I checked my email before I went to bed, and then I read what you just sent me, and I was like, oh my gosh,
I
it
know.
just ticks me off, and I feel bad for that lady, for her husband, for our industry. I mean, we're
Everything.
victims too. The
You're
guy's
right.
using it's a podcast, and he's using our likeness to
Yeah.
conduct a fraud. And yeah, just everyone out there, just be alert and just know that no matter how good you have it, there's always someone out there trying to take it from you.
That is right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that message out there, thanks everyone for tuning in. And the only place you should be seeing the Woodhounds is every Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, right here on your
Yeah.
favorite podcasting platform.
Dan, just one thing that you forgot.
Uh-oh.
You should first strike up the band.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, strike it up.
Band struck.
Okay, now say it again.
All right, now tune in to the #1 firewood podcast in the world, the Woodhounds, on your favorite podcasting platform every Wednesday morning at 5 a.m.
And we want to thank everyone for tuning in and helping us become the biggest firewood podcast in the world. Please rate us 5 stars. It is a big help to us. And I want to tell everyone to be
safe
and stay
safe
and consider being
cool
and have
a great day.